I tell the story of Dr. Charles Drew, who was a black doctor, and he died in Greensboro, North Carolina, believe in the 50s, but he was a very fair-skinned black man, who was able to move around in certain portions of his life pretty freely without, the problems that some darker black men would have. But at the time of his death, in a car accident, they realized that he was in fact a black man, and so they drove past the white hospital where he could have gotten immediate treatment, and they took him to a black hospital where the time it took for him to get there cost him his life. And so, obviously there are many, many, many opportunities to talk about how the actual color of a person's skin can affect your life, but that's just one historically. Ain't no how step on Marcus J. All right, I'm getting comments here. Let me get these comments in. Michelle K. is saying Raven's confused and or ashamed of her race. Let's see, what else we got? I'm getting them right.
I absolutely believe that. I think that is a very good comment. I do think she's ashamed of her race.
Yeah. And it's to me personally, it's sad. I don't think that anybody should be ashamed of anything. But again, it's kind of the world we live in. Hakeem's got a comment. He says, a good book, Who is Black? It's kind of amusing when black people, and it's in air quotes, black people try to define what is black and claim to be more black than this person or that person. You absolutely cannot quantify or therefore determine how black someone is by how down they are or their culture. Culture does not determine how black you are or not. The social construct of black does. I think that's a fabulous, fabulous comment. I think that's actually the comment of this segment, and it speaks even directly to what I said earlier, and I do like that clarification that you gave us here, Hakeem. I think my only, response to that is, if we're speaking directly to Raven Simone, where you lose me is where you reject what you are. You are a black female who is a homosexual. You're in a relationship with a female, and no one that I can speak to, well, I'm sure there's some people, so let me not speak in hyperbole. I know that I would not look at you and have a problem with you as a fair-skinned, attractive black female who happens to like women. It wouldn't make me one bit of a difference. I'm not going to like you any more or like you any less. One of my favorite people on the planet is a dark-skinned black female who likes females. You know what I mean? It's one of my favorite people on the planet. You know what I mean? So to me, it doesn't matter. Where it matters is you reject who you are. That I got a problem with. That's just me, Steven.
I have a question. Let's add two fair parts to this. One, I call myself a black man, but many times I'll always clarify because I want to be fair to my other half. I'm half of Native American. I'm half black. But if I sit there and say that to people, they get mad. Or you black? But I'm just want to be fair to my other side, because I'm not rejecting, just as much as we talk about rejecting our black culture, we talk about our rejecting, I'm in the same essence, I would be rejecting my Native American culture. If me and Millie should have a child, for example, okay, I'm half, she's Indian American. So now, what do we tell our child? If someone calls my child a black child because, or whatever, but my child may be her skin tone, or maybe my skin tone. What am I supposed to tell my child? I would tell my child, love yourself and everything else. But whatever style or culture, whatever you want to be comfortable with, I'm support you and love you either way. But don't feel like you have to be pressured by society to identify you.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I guess I understand where you're coming from with that. Ratia is listening to us. Thank you for listening, Ratia. She says that the Illuminati has a lot to do with some of these celebrities and their actions and things that they say. Millie, you were going to say something?
Well, I wanted to say something definite, that I think that based on black culture or the black experience, to be honest, I think it's when you experience pure racism against you, or you're a direct witness, it happens to you, that is part of the black experience. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, we've all felt racism. I mean, I would think so in this room. Yeah. Isn't that correct?
Oh, I mean, I don't think there's any question. Stephen and I have talked about this at length. Melanie says, when white people look at you, they see a black person is essentially what her comment is, Stephen. I look at it like this. I just don't want, I guess to speak directly to your analogy, if you as a dark-skinned black male and you, Millie, as a lighter-skinned Indian female, if you two were to have a child, that child would be obviously a mix of the two cultures. And what is that child to say about what their heritage is? I would say that child's a black man if it was a boy, and I would say that child is an Indian man if it's a boy. But to look at, because they're black and Indian. You're Indian, he's black.
Right.
But I think a lot of it may also have to do with how you're raising them, where you're raising them, what culture you decide to have for your child, But at the end of the day, society, and I understand what you're saying, Stephen, because I do tend to agree with you when you put it that way. You don't necessarily want to have society dictate what you are, who you are, and Hakeem's comment was fabulous.
Because you and I are very culturally diverse people.
Well, right, and Hakeem's comment about how we should be careful to not try to define the black experience for other people.
Absolutely.
That would be a slippery slope to go down. But I think that it gets very, very complicated when you start talking about mixed children. As you can see, I'm actually working through my opinion on this as we're talking about
I would just tell
it.
my child is mixed, so be it, call it a day.
Yeah,
I'll call myself
a
mixed child, but I'm not denying either in my culture, because how many times growing up north, okay, we both did. I love my rock and roll. I love my country. I love my classical. Oh, my goodness, you just want to be one of them. No, I'm just enjoying what it is. But I know for myself, and just as much as you being a father, you expose your child to a bunch of different things, and you let your child choose for themselves through your education. It's by reading and knowledge.
I got you. As I mentioned, I'm working through some of this kind of, particularly the biracial part of it, because, personally, I see people that are mixed with black as black people. That's what I do, and I can't tell you how you're supposed to look at that. I look at Barack.
That one dropper thing.
Well, I guess maybe it is, but I look at Barack Obama as a black man because that's what I see when I see him.
But I call
see
him
a black
biracial man,
okay,
because I don't want to be
that's cool. That's
but
cool.
I do it as a respect thing, because I'm
that's
not
fine
trying
if
to deny it.
that's fine if you choose to do that. But why don't you ask him in a quiet moment when it's just you and him how he feels when he sees the venom that he's getting from the population of people that he's leading in this country. We can say what we want about how, obviously because, many of us being black people, we're going to be extra sensitive to how the black president is being treated, whether you agree with him or not, which these days I'm agreeing with him less and less.
You and I both
but that part's irrelevant. I still see him as a black man, and I see the way that he's treated, and I see, President Bush and President Clinton and all the other presidents before them all had to take it. They all had to take disrespect, because that's what comes with being a leader.
But not to this level.
Let me finish my point, Stephen. Quit cutting me off. This is what you have to deal with as the leader of this of a country. But when you look at what's going on with him, it's mean-spirited, and it's nasty, and it's racial, and they're attacking his family. And that's where it's different. There's a story that came out last week about how Michelle Obama was born a man and didn't have those children, and they adopted him from Morocco. That is going on right now. That is what the Patriot.com and a lot of these right-wing organizations are saying. You know what I'm saying? And so when I see that, and I see how that man is treated, it makes me even more proud to see him stand up there, not only and take it, but hey, look, I'm still the president. And that's just one person. And I speak to him because I know that we all can relate to him. But I'm just saying, when I see a mixed kid, and I know that kid is mixed with some, I see a black person. I see Tiger Woods, I see a black dude. And so when he says, I ain't black, that kind of irks me a little bit. Obviously, I know that he's mixed with Asian, and all due respect to his mom. No one says that you need to reject part of your heritage, but you ain't supposed to reject the black part either. And when Raven Simone says, I ain't black, I ain't gay, I get the whole I don't want to be labeled thing. But when someone like Ratia says that you got some Illuminati stuff going on there, I think you might be onto something, sister. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Stephen, you wanted to get in here. Let me just make sure I don't have any more comments. All right. Melanie is saying in America, the one drop rule plays a role. Black is the dominant gene, so it don't matter. Your Indian co-host might get mad, but point blank, she's black just like Asians. And she's agreeing that this is a good conversation. And there's a lot to that. I guess it depends on. There's some folks that don't believe that. There's different cultures and the different cultures and where they come from. But I do tend to believe that the original man was an African man, and there's documentation of that.
Right.
And
yes.
so if there's documentation of that, when Melanie says that you, Millie, are black, that's where she's coming from with regards to that. And I think that you would agree with that. So Melanie, I don't think she disagrees. I actually think she does agree, judging by her facial expression. Stephen, last comment on this Raven Simone, then I got one more.
What would happen if she, let's say, she has some other Portuguese, God knows whatever. What if she sat there and said, you know what, I don't want to be labeled, I don't want to be called white American. Would anybody have any problem? Would this be as such of a big issue? I'm not defending her. I'm just asking to be fair on both sides here. Would anybody? Where's the same fervor if she sat there and said whatever? Because keep in mind, to use Tiger Woods' example, he said the whole quote never got put out there. Keep in mind, he didn't. He said everybody points to the fact that it says he's not black, but also in that quote before that, he said I'm not white and I'm not Asian and I'm not black.
Well, why would any? I mean, I don't see how that's relevant.
Well, my relevance is we're getting on her for rejecting her. She's the black female, but let's say where's the relevance in terms of rejecting her white side?
Well, let the white folk worry about that. I mean, seriously, let the white folk worry about that. I don't care what they think.
I care about that you're rejecting yourself.
Exactly.
And
I'm black.
All your culture.
Yes, and I'm black.
And
so I'm going to notice when someone black says I'm not black. I'm going to notice when someone says the kind of things like Lil Boosie said. If I was white and somebody said I ain't white, then maybe I would have some kind of feeling about that.
I guess that's maybe the social service.
But I don't.
That's the
because I'm
counselor
not.
in me.
Well,
You're rejecting yourself regardless of culture. That's my point.
that is a problem. But honestly, if I were to have an interracial baby, I would actually be upset if my child would just be labeled as black, because he's part me too. You know, I'm Indian, so that child is part East Indian, part black, right? So I would just be very upset if my child rejected any part of his or her culture.
Ultimately, that's kind of what my point is. Melanie is saying white people would not say that because they're the dominant culture. And Jackie says, has a white person ever say, don't label me, I'm not Caucasian, I'm an American, period. I guess I'd have to know every white person to know the answer to that, but your point is definitely well taken with regards to that. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. We're live from the den of Legacy Internet Radio. We appreciate everybody who has stayed with us at this hour. It's almost 9 p.m. We've got a lot more to get to, so stay with us. The next one that I want to get to is similar. And, you know, one thing that we don't do on Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J is we don't run from discussions of race, which obviously we're having a pretty damn good one right now. And we don't run from it. And the reason why we don't run from it is because I think that it's definitely important to have the discussion about differences. It's important to have discussions about things that we have in common. And it's definitely important to disagree, because you cannot possibly come to a place of education, come to a place of enlightenment without understanding what someone who has a differing opinion than your own may feel about a subject. And so while I'm about as pro-black as it gets, I have no hate and no malice in my soul for anybody. I have hate and malice in my soul for someone that has hate and malice in their soul for me, because every black man ain't your brother and every white man ain't your enemy. So, you know, and I honestly know this to be true because I've seen it with my own eyes. With that being said, I want to kind of move on away from Lil Boosie and Raven Simone and talk about this lesbian couple who went to the sperm bank and they got some sperm. They wanted to have a baby. And when they had the baby, and this is two white women now, When they had the baby came out black. And now they're suing because apparently there's a mix-up in color. And I got some interesting opinions about this one. Millie, you look like you have some questions here.
Well, I wanted to know, first of all, is it an actual mix-up of color? Because then I'm just disgusted that they would sue over that. Or what I thought that they could actually sue over is if it's not their eggs or not the...
It was a mix-up. I'm sorry. It was a mix-up. They gave a black sperm would contain which the eggs. And it was supposed to be totally white only.
Oh my God, they actually requested that. Wow.
People go to the sperm bank millions a day.
And I don't have a problem with that personally, because if I was going to the sperm bank, I mean, if I had a problem and I was going to the sperm bank, I wouldn't want you to send me home with a white baby. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. I mean, and if I'm going to catch some heat from that, bring the fire. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial if you want to be a part of the discussion. You know, I guess I'm somewhat tipping my hand here, but I want to get everybody in on this one before I comment. Stephen, what you think?
Okay, you seem to. There was a big discussion on this on my wall post regarding this, and I got like literally almost over 100 inbox messages regarding it, and they wanted me to talk about it. The issue I have is this: just coming from a humanitarian type of guy, I'm not a woman, so it's hard for me to say, but to me, I was raised to love each and every child, regardless of color. And coming from a faith-based aspect of it, God didn't reject any other color, so I'm not going to, if I'm trying to be quote-unquote Christ-like, I'm not going to reject any other color. That said, does she have a right to sue? Yes, she does. But at the same time, look at the message. I'm looking at 2 points. Look at the message that you're sending the child. And also, I'm looking at the comment when I saw this on CNN, and there's that quote on the Today's Good Morning to America, I think it was, and then CNN. She said, I wanted a child that could be accepted in my community. Now, if that's the case, A, what type of community did you live in? And then second, you're going to raise your child regardless of white, so you're treating another community that's raised to hate or disparage other cultures besides your own. So that's where I have a problem, where thus I'm even more so against her suing, and just love the child for who you are.
I got you. That makes sense, but it's not realistic.
Well, honestly...
But it's the fact.
It's not a fact. Because feelings have nothing to do with facts.
You can have a preference. I totally understand that. However, I think you're both forgetting one big thing. Children are not born knowing they have a color. They don't even know what colors are or what they mean. They don't understand until they're older and they're taught things. That this is why you don't get picked for the baseball team because you're not black, or because you are black. You would get picked somewhere else. It's just the most ridiculous thing. People are not raised to understand what color is.
I wanted to play hockey, but they told me I couldn't because I was black.
See, yeah, and that's one thing that I'm saying.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. But I don't think that these people are. All right, let me back up. I agree with you on that comment that she made about, the baby not being accepted in the community. Because I'm not really one that really cares what you think about me. I don't care what you think about what I say, because at the end of the day, it's how I feel. And if it's how I feel, then, your opinion of it just doesn't really move me. Now, it's nice if we agree, and if you have something constructive to say that we can disagree about, then great, we can debate. But if it comes from a place of malice, or if it comes from a place of I just disagree with you and I don't want to discuss it, I don't really care what you think. And so I say what I'm going to say with kind of that backdrop. But for me, culturally, me personally, if I went to the sperm bank and they sent me home with a child that wasn't black, I would have a problem with it. That's just me. I can't speak for these white people being sent home with the black baby, But I don't have a problem with them being mad, because if you went in there with a directive that said, give us a white baby, which I have no problem with them doing that because they white people, then Yeah, you got every right to sue because you didn't get what you went in there for. And Jackie says she would want her money back. I kind of agree with it. She's saying it tongue in cheek, but I kind of can dig that because you have the right to ask for and get what you want. Now, if you go in there, I got you, Millie. I see you want to jump in. You about to bite a hole in our microphone. Just let me finish this point, and then you up next. If you go in there and you say, just give me a baby, then cool. You know, Brad and Angelina go across the world and they bring babies home. They got babies from every corner of the world, and that's great. I have no problem with it. I think that their rainbow family is a beautiful family. I think it's beautiful what they do. And Madonna with her black son, I think it's great if that's what you want to do. But I'm not going to hold these people to a different standard because they went in there, asked for something, and didn't get it. If they went in there and said, just give us a baby, and the baby came home black and then they sued, I'd have a problem with that. But if they said, give us a white baby, and they came home with a black one, I'm on their side 100%. Millie, jump in.
Well, no, in this argument, nobody cares about the baby. What about the baby?
That's what I said earlier. But see, the thing is, I would be okay with your thought. But she came on TV and said, I want my child to be accepted by society in my local area.
Yeah,
Her
okay.
exact quote.
Yeah,
she
said
don't deserve a
yes,
child at all.
She said that, and that comes off as racist. I got you. I'm not debating that.
But she carried that baby for 9 months, loving that baby every moment until the moment that baby was born. And when she was born, now she's going to hate it.
I don't think that she's
hating.
hating the baby.
But
You can see the
that negative energy.
you see the pictures. I just showed you the picture.
I do see
I
the
just showed you the
pictures,
picture,
but
and this looks like a very happy mom with her very happy, cute little baby. And to look at this picture, I see nothing but love in this picture. I see a black baby and a white mother, and I see nothing but love with nothing but love here. However, if in fact she went to the sperm bank and said, "This is what I want," and she didn't get what she wanted, then she has every right to be mad about it.
well, that's a simple thing of payment. You know, like if you pay for something, you deserve to get what you paid for.
Yes.
But it's okay. You know what? This is one of those cases where it falls in line for me. Doing the right thing ain't sometimes doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
And so does doing the right thing may be sued, but you know, in the effort of, it's already out there that you even spoke this, so the child's going to hear this eventually. But just leave it on, because what's that child going to feel? It may, because you're still transferring. We've all seen the studies. We've talked about this on the show. The negative energy that a child can feel from the mother and all these other things from hate all around. How is that she's going to be treated in society now? Is you going to be loved in your community now? What are you doing to prevent your child from being hated because you so badly wanted a child to be accepted in your community and your family?
I got you on that part. As far as them, her worrying about the acceptance and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, this is an example of white folk getting a little taste of what we as black folk have to live with on a daily basis, the whole acceptance thing, because now you got this black child and your friends don't like you like they used to. If I'm to follow and I didn't hear her make that statement, so I'm only going off of what you said that she went on TV and said. But if that's what she said, then to me, there's an element of, damn, my white friends ain't gonna be feeling me no more now that I got this black kid. And so now you got an idea of what it feels like to drive while black, to go in stores and get followed. I've told the story on this show how I got profiled in the courtyard of the studio that I freaking run this station from. Profiled. And I told that story. You know what I'm saying? So I know what that's like. Now these ladies know what it's like. And that, I mean, I don't wish any ill on them. Millie, you make a fabulous point. What about the child? I don't have a response for that. Oftentimes I spend so much time with my fist in the air that I do miss certain details like that one, and I just didn't consider it until just now when you presented it. And I like to be fair here. I'm gonna be firm. I'm gonna be kind of pig-headed. If I got a point, if I feel strong on it, I'm gonna stick to it. But if someone makes a valid point, I can't do nothing but acquiesce to that, and you made one, and I agree with that.
Well,
I still stand firm, though. I would sue.
But also, when this child gets older, she's going to feel, well, mommy didn't want me. I mean, how I mean, a rejection like that when you're such a small child from growing up. I mean, obviously the kid doesn't know what color is right now, but when she does start learning about color, and she thinks that her own parents don't love her because of who she is, because of the color of her skin, which is something so stupid and ridiculous.
So
I mean, how is she going to feel when she grows up? She really needs to drop that lawsuit.
I understand where you're coming from, and I would tend to agree with you if we were speaking moralistically. If we were speaking moralistically, then yeah, I mean, the color of the child's skin doesn't matter. If the people went into the sperm bank and said, just give me a kid, it doesn't matter what the kid looks like, what the parent, what the sperm is, whatever, just give me a kid, then I would 100% be there with you. But the reality is, if these people went in there and said what they wanted, they have absolutely every right, because the truth of the matter is, you reserve the right to have whatever kind of family you want. If I wanted to have a mixed kid, I would have married a white woman. Right. I'm speaking to Marcus J now, but I'm a black man who finds black women attractive, and if I'm going to be with a woman, it's going to be a black woman. That's me. And these two white women must feel the same way, else they would have chosen other women other than themselves. So that's just how I feel about it. I think we all understand each other. It's one of those things we'll have to agree to disagree without being disagreeable. Jackie is agreeing with me. She doesn't need to drop anything. They made a mistake. We're on the same page with that. Ain't no hashtag with Marcus. All right, listen, we're going to take another break. And when we come back, we are going to have a word from the greatest of all time. Muhammad Ali is going to join us right here on Legacy Internet Radio. He's not going to be here, y'all. Stop tripping. It's a clip I'm going to play for y'all that kind of talks a little bit about the color thing, and hopefully will shed a little bit light about why I feel the way I feel and why a lot of people feel the same way we feel. I got Million, Mr. LP, Marcus J. Ain't no how Steppin, Marcus J. Be back in a minute.